1. March 2017. I was walking home from work in a small town up here in rural Maine when I was cut off by someone in a car who was apparently in a rush. They seemed to have absolutely no regard to look and see if they were about to hit someone. Maybe they were lost, I don't know. Anyways, they pulled very quickly into the mechanic shop right in front of me, almost running into me. Barely even braking, they pulled a U-turn, stopped shortly to look for any oncoming traffic, and then peeled out back onto the main road, headed in the other direction. In the split seconds spent at this small intersection, I noticed the driver and was immediately awestruck. He was the spitting image of my ex-boyfriend. He even had his tick. He brushed his unkempt hair behind his ear before making the decision to peel out onto the main road. And he did it in such a way that was so familiar, and recognizing it felt so intense, that it even felt intimate. I mean, I got to know this person very well. All partners, even past ones, have a way of recognizing each other's behavior and body language. Anyone who's been in a long-term relationship will attest to this. We moved in together and lived with each other for 3 years in Virginia, before I brought him back to Maine for another year, where we eventually split. He returned to his hometown, and as far as I know, he stayed there. The guy in the car in front of me just can't be him, yet I knew deep down I was only telling myself that it can't be him, because I needed to believe it wasn't him. Hell, his appearance was so convincing that I needed to convince myself to disbelieve. As I stared down this strange yet familiar man and his car, searching for more answers, my eyes fixate on the Virginia license plates, with my eyes now glued like a magnet. I spin around completely to watch the car drive away. I watched him drive away until I couldn't see the car anymore. I stood baffled for just a moment, before turning back around and running the rest of the way home. I looked so hard for a reason to disbelieve, and I got the complete opposite of what I wanted, more validation of my gut feeling. I burst through the door and rushed straight to my laptop. I log into Facebook, unblock the sorry pervert, and message him the following. Where are you? Well, hi. Tell me where you are. On my porch right now, smoking. Why? Show me a picture. Take a picture right now and show me. Hold 3 fingers up in the photo so I know it's real. He did exactly what I asked of him. I gazed at the picture through his porch windows to that old cobblestone walkway that I knew so well. In the foreground is his hand holding a cigarette, 3 fingers up and all. I thought to myself, man, that really was him. It looked so much like him, and I could have passed it off as just a trick of the eye, a simple doppelganger not worthy of a second thought, if the car just didn't have those damn Virginia license plates. We get some vacationers, but definitely not in March, unless the tourist is too stupid to know that we still have mountains of snow up here this time of year. And even then, what are the odds that this supposed vacationer is going to be a spitting image of my ex? His face, his hair, his demeanor and his body language, all the way down to the car he was driving, screamed, "This is Rob." And my gut feeling screamed back, "I know!" But this picture, this stupid picture that I have in my phone tells me the Rob that you know is in Virginia. So what if a different Rob, one that a different me knows, never went back home? Maybe, what if I'm this stranger in a reality that I don't belong to? 2. I wanted to share a strange coincidence that I had this morning that included my partner in it as well. We both started working at the same home healthcare agency for the developmentally disabled over 3 months ago, where we do mostly overnight shifts. I work graveyard all week while my partner does graveyard 2 to 3 days a week, plus a day shift. This also means we had to give up our usual nightly routine of sleeping in the same bed together, cuddling, spooning, getting on each other's nerves, by pulling blankets off each other during sleep, etc. Anyway, last night my partner's shift starts at 11 p.m. and my shifts are from midnight to 8 a.m. My partner usually works with another male personnel attendant, as men usually get more aggressive cases, and therefore the clients would either get scheduled with either 2 personal attendants or even 3, depending on history of violence or aggression. 2 to 1 or 3 to 1. For women, we are usually assigned to clients who we can work one-on-one with. Our supervisors know me and my partner share one car. So when we do work on the same days, they allow my partner to leave his case to come home and take me to my case. My partner's co-worker would always be there as well, so the client is never alone or by themselves when this happens. Both our cases are very close to where we both live, but his case is just about a 5 minutes drive. At times, my partner would also drive back to the house to take a nap while his client is asleep, with his co-worker monitoring the client. My partner and his co-worker work so well together, they've come to make their own terms and policies. But guaranteed their client is always safe. My partner dropped me off at my case and I arrived at my client's apartment complex around 11:50 p.m. She stays in a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom apartment unit upstairs. My partner retreats back to the house to sleep in, which is around 6:30 a.m. He would then later return to his case. His shift is from 11 p.m. to 9 a.m. before his shift ends, and to also wait for the set of other 2 personal attendants to come and relieve him and his co-worker. My client's heater was on at night and set to 82 degrees, which was really hot, or at least it was for me because I never sleep with the heater on. At my client's, nonetheless, I do turn it on myself. My co-worker, there are 4 other women, excluding myself, that worked with this specific client, had turned it on during her shift, and also just told me a week prior that she got the heater to work. Apparently it was not working before, and has been using it before I get there and turning it off, and she asked if I mind the heat because she gets cold easily. I didn't mind because I could just easily turn it off, but instead, last night I tried just lowering the set temperature to 78, and figured I could use it since it's been getting colder at night as well, and I would just turn it off before I slept. Usually my client is asleep upon arrival in her room, with or without the door closed. Lately she's been having her door open, so that would mean I had to come from a much stealthier approach, as I would maneuver through her apartment without trying to wake her up. If she is not deeply asleep, she is sensitive to sounds even as small as a carpet creak. She is a 31-year-old autistic woman. The setting of her apartment is simple. You walk up the steps to her door. The living room, to the right of the front door, is openly connected to the kitchen, to the left of the front door. Then there are 3 doors, one leading to my client's room, one leading to the bathroom, and just a closet. There's a fairly large couch in her living room, which is where I sleep, and I also bring my own blankets and covers. Clearly for warmth and comfort purposes, but also hygiene, for the couch so I can sort of make my bed, I guess you could say. After doing so, I got in the most comfortable state I could, considering the circumstances, and turned the lamp down to its dimmest setting, and started reading Reddit posts on the couch. Literally, and this is something I've been doing for the last several days. Something that I started to realize and notice a lot more is that at times when I'm on my phone, laying down on the couch before I sleep, and I'm able to hear questionable noises coming from the kitchen, noises like sounds of cabinets or cupboards closing, thuds on the walls tapping on counters or tables. As much as it should make me scared, I'm usually able to dismiss them as, oh, it's probably just, I've done this all my life, for the sake of not having a paranoid meltdown at work. But for some reason last night around 1:45 a.m., as I'm still stuck on my phone surfing the net, about glitches and Mandela effect, I heard a loud sound. No other sound was ever this loud or profound, from the kitchen, which sounded like something heavy fell over on the counter. My client is minimal and doesn't have much kitchenware out, just a microwave, toaster, dish detergent, dish rack, paper towels. I wasn't more so afraid of the noise I heard then, but was more concerned to know if that noise had startled or woke up my client. So I slowly got up off the couch to creep my way towards her door to check on her. Surprised she didn't wake up, like she usually would. Then on the way back, walked quickly by the kitchen to try and assess what happened, before jumping to the couch where I just then hid my entire body under the covers, asking myself where the hell did that noise come from? Although I did this all in dim lighting, I was sure that nothing in the kitchen looked off or abnormal, and everything was exactly in place and how I left it. That moment in itself is when I started to feel eerie. After giving myself a pep talk and trying to convince myself that there is nothing to be afraid of, and that the sound could just be coming from anywhere, and could be anything, my eyes started weighing heavy on my face, and I started getting sleepy, as it was now close to 2:20 a.m. I put my phone down and set an alarm for 7:10, and quickly fell asleep. I can't even remember if I had a dream or not, but I do remember tossing and turning a lot on the couch, and throwing my covers off because my body was burning up, and it was extremely hot in the living room, or became so during the heater being on throughout the night, which I then realized at 4:30 a.m. as I groggily got up, half asleep off the couch, to switch the heater off, that I forgot to turn it off before I slept. I then went back to sleep for another 2 hours, where I was then woken up by a text from my partner telling me he just got up and was about to leave the house and get back to his case. We then started to text each other. I mean, hell, I was already awake, right? I had a weird night to begin with as is and figured talking to my partner would make me feel better, or at least bring me back to some sort of reality. I asked him how he slept and if he slept well, since he had the privilege of getting to sleep in our bed last night. But just to himself. We joke around about it a lot because when sleeping together I always manage to be all over him, and he doesn't like it because it gets his body hot under the sheets. Then was going to tell him how I accidentally fell asleep with the heater on and was burning up, but decided to retract that text and wait for a reply first. My partner then replied with "nah, not really," which ideally prompted me to agree and text "same here, lol," before trying to construct my thoughts into another text on how weird my night was, which was intervened midway throughout me writing out my thoughts with a reply from my partner saying I was hot for some reason. Literally appalled and shocked by that response, considering the type of night I had. It just baffled me. It made no sense why he would have been hot, or that his body was hot strangely without reason, because our room is always so cold at night, which is why we always make sure to close the window before sleeping, to avoid catching a cold or allergies due to weather changes. We live in Southern Cali. I then replied with a response trying to best explain how I also felt hot too, but more so was trying to figure out why my partner did. He explained to me that the heater was not on, and that our room was just weirdly hot last night, and so was his body. Also, what are the odds of us both experiencing that type of specific feeling physically? I don't know. Also, that was the very first time I slept with the heater on at my client's, and this is the first time since the weather has gotten colder that my partner has told me he was hot in our room during the middle of the night, when temperatures outside are 60 and below. So weird. I can barely put into words how I felt in that very moment when I received that text. Nonetheless, how I feel now. What could that really mean? Was it just a silly coincidence? Have I been reading too much into this new phenomenon? Or was this something else? Something beyond myself and my own comprehension? Can someone help me to make this make sense? Three. Explaining this can get a little confusing, and English isn't my first language, so I'll do my best at being clear and not create further confusion. So to go from where I study to my house, I have to follow a simple route. Get on the first train, get off on the first stop. Walk through a really long hallway that takes me to the second train, get on it, and then it'll take me straight home. That's it. Even for someone who gets really anxious using the subway, it's really easy. However, this time things got really weird, and I still can't understand what happened. There are a couple of explanations, but I'll talk about that later. It happened a couple days ago when I was coming back home from class. This day I just did the usual, got into the first train, got off it in the first stop, ready to change trains. And then things got weird. Suddenly I was in a stop I passed by when I'm in the second train. There's no way the first train passes by that one stop at all. I passed this specific stop around 10 minutes after I've got into the second train. So as you can understand, I've never been in this stop and I'm incredibly confused. And I know that if I get in this train it'll take me home. But because I shouldn't be here, I get really worried and wander through the stop like a confused lost dog for a while until I ask someone and they guarantee me that this train will take me to my stop. Now I told this to my mom when I got home exhausted, and she insisted that I must have gone into autopilot, which would be my number one guess too, but there are two things wrong with that. First one is that as someone who has dealt with dysfunctional daydreaming throughout my entire life, I am perfectly aware of when I switch off and go into autopilot, because it happens more often than I would like it to. Also, I don't go into autopilot in situations of stress or anxiety, and as I mentioned before, using the subway makes my anxiety alarms go off immediately, no matter how used I am to a route. Still, this could be a perfect explanation, and I wish it was, but it takes us to problem number 2. A classmate of mine has to do the exact same route as me, changing trains and all. We live relatively close too. This day I saw him sitting and waiting for the first train, but we didn't say hi, and I got into this weird, we are aware of each other, but we are gonna pretend we aren't state. We get into the first train, and he is right in front of me looking at his phone, acting as if he doesn't know I'm right in front of him. When I get off the first train in the first stop and he doesn't, I think it's weird because we both have to catch the second one. And I think that maybe he has somewhere else to go. And then I was into the wrong stop, as I said. Now, even if I had gone on autopilot, what are the odds that me and this guy had walked all the way through the hallway, gone up the stairs, and got into the second train, and ended up in the exact same carriage in the same exact position, facing each other all in the middle of rush hour? Since we are awkwardly ignoring each other. I was mentally and physically exhausted when I got home, probably due to trying to not have an anxiety attack in the middle of the subway. But I really was completely out of me by the time I was able to sit down and think about what had happened. I had heard about glitches in the Matrix and ironically hoped to never encounter one myself. I don't know if anyone has any idea if this could actually be one, or have any other explanation. If not, as long as you don't patronize me, I think it'll be enough. 4. I smoke, and any smoker knows you keep track of your lighter, especially when you only have one, and, like any smoker also knows, lighters tend to pop in and out of existence. Lost lighters are common. People get bicked, their lighter pocketed on accident by someone else, and I get that. I didn't lose my lighter. I used my one red Bic lighter for days, weeks, maybe even a whole month. I kept track of it, I carried it with me, I used it, and eventually it ran out of fluid and died. I expressed my dead lighter frustration to my dad, and threw my dead lighter in the trash. I was looking for another lighter around the kitchen. My dad went and grabbed one of his and handed it to me. He constantly takes my lighters and accidentally keeps them, so he tossed me a brand new red Bic from a new pack and told me to keep it. It was the only red one, like my last one, so he'd know it was mine and not take it. My dad went right to bed after that. I didn't leave the kitchen. My sister came home shortly after, and we smoked in the kitchen. We shared my new red lighter because she didn't have one either. When we were done and gathering up our stuff from the kitchen table, I realized I now had 2 brand new red lighters sitting in front of me somehow. I got the weird feeling, knowing it was not there before. Lighters are hard to come by in my parents' house, if you hadn't gathered that thus far, so a brand new lighter would have definitely been noticed. My sister immediately deems it a glitch in the Matrix. I said I didn't think it was, and she insists I post it to Reddit anyway. She knows there's a place for glitches, even though she doesn't use Reddit herself because I talk about it. I tell her no, it's probably my dead one, maybe. I'm still trying to explain it away. So we shine a flashlight behind them to check the fluid levels. Of course it's not my dead one. Both lighters are brand new, same amount of lighter fluid in them. We take a picture. But I tell her I'm probably not going to post it because it's not weird enough. And maybe I had to somehow the whole time, even though I know I didn't. So tell me how I got up to my room with my stuff. I go to put away my things, reach for the 2 lighters, and now I have 3. 3 brand new red lighters. Now it's weird enough, cause y'all know that somewhere in another dimension, I'm pissed off and keep buying red lighters that disappear into the void, and I'm out $2 each time. I guess this time it's a good glitch. 5. I was visiting my family who live in the country, which is 4 hours south of the city, where I was currently living for university. I came down for the weekend to see my family and friends. My best friend was dating my sister at the time, so he was always around our house. So the day after I arrived, we both decided to go and visit our friend who lived 10 minutes out of town. The first 5 minutes is your normal tar road. Then you turn left onto a one-way gravel road that leads into the forest. My friend's house was at the end of the road. This road is very narrow, and only 1 car can fit on it at a time. On both sides of the road is fences and high trees, and there's no turn-off at all, until my friend's place anyway. It was around 7 o'clock at night when my pal and I decided to go over. We were planning on having a few drinks to catch up, since I haven't seen them in a while. And keep in mind we were both 100% sober, no drugs or alcohol in our systems. So we left my parents' house, and drove out of town. From the tar road, you can see the gravel road for a few moments. As we were approaching the turn onto the gravel road, I noticed a car parked on the side of the gravel about 200 meters down, facing forward. This was strange because I've never seen a car on this road before. I shrugged it off and kept driving. As I turned onto the gravel road, this overwhelming feeling came over me. It was the feeling of dread, like something bad was going to happen. It made me feel very uncomfortable. My best friend, who was in the passenger seat, also felt the feeling as well, and he said he felt strange. This terrible feeling only grew stronger when we approached the car. I was about 15 meters away from the car. It had its lights on, just sitting there. As I came around the bend, it pulled out and started driving. I caught up to it pretty quickly. I was about 7 meters away from the car at this stage. I remember the feeling becoming very intense. It was so strange. It was growing stronger. I remember just staring at the back of the car for a few minutes, and so was my friend. My friend was muting the number plate. Then I decided to look at the speed on my dashboard. At the exact time I did this, my friend looked at his phone to change the song. I took my eyes off the road for a millisecond, but when I looked up, the car had vanished. I immediately said, "What the fuck?" which alerted my friend to look up. I was speechless at this stage. He replied with, "Where's the car? Where has it gone?" We both started looking around, but there's nowhere it could have gone. It's a one-way road in the forest with fences on both sides. The feeling didn't leave either. It was too intense. It was like my body was telling me to get the fuck out of there, gut instinct. At this stage, we turned off the music. I guess we were both trying to figure out what had happened. The rest of the car trip was silent. We got to our friend's house, and the rest was a blur. The feeling eased down a bit, but I still didn't feel right. I ended up drinking because I was so puzzled with what happened. We didn't end up staying long. As we were driving home, the feeling came back, but stronger than ever, right in the same spot where the car disappeared. I quickly sped off and tried not to think about it. I came home and instantly told my sister. She replied with, "That sounds like a glitch." She showed me these videos on YouTube of people experiencing similar things. My friend and I still discuss it every now and then. We think the car accidentally crossed over into our universe. Well, something glitched, and the car appeared, then disappeared. I don't know. Still confuses me to this day. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to 5 True Glitch in the Matrix Stories, number 89. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. I'm going to keep the outro rather short because I'm kinda tired and sleepy. My sleeping schedule is completely messed at the moment for a whole host of reasons. So I'll just thank you all for watching and say goodbye for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.